Hello everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. Hopefully you guys are doing well. This is going to be the astro weather for June 11th through the 18th of 2023. I'm excited to talk to you guys about the aspects this week. Probably the two main headlines are going to be Pluto's retrograde back into the sign of Capricorn, and also the new moon that will be taking place in Gemini, and that's going to be taking place later in the week on the 18th. 17th or 18th, depending on where it is that you guys are living. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm a Western astrologer. I focus on working both with the Sabian Symbols as well as tarot to better understand what's going on in the cosmos. If you guys like my content, you want to see more of it, make sure you click the subscription button below, give me a thumbs up, and if you're new, drop me a comment, say hello, let me know where you're tuning in from. I'd love to hear from you. Big thanks to everybody who's been supporting the channel. This last week I was on vacation, but we did hit 20,000 subscribers. So thank you guys so much. That was like one of my big goals. The next one's now gonna be 50K, so it'll be a while before you guys hear me announcing that. But big thank you for liking, commenting, and sharing my videos. You guys are a big part of the reason why I've had so much growth in this last year. Let's keep it going. Well, Pluto's gone retrograde back into Capricorn. That's actually happening this morning. So all of you guys who are the late degree cardinal rising signs, my Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn rising, 26 to 29 degrees, or any personal placements you have there, be mindful that you are going to be wrapping up, the final kind of transit of this Pluto square or conjunction, depending on where you've got these planets. Obviously Pluto's going back into Capricorn because it's got something that it's still trying to kind of break down. We're actually going to see Pluto go retrograde into Capricorn. It'll be there until the beginning of 2024, and it's still going to kind of pop in and out really all the way until the end of 2024 before finally ingressing back into Aquarius. But if you guys think back to what was going on earlier this spring, you'll kind of take a look at what was happening in the March, April, May period as Pluto's ingress was taking place. And we saw that it really shifted things away from government and politics, and it shifted more to the people. So there's been more about people waking up. Obviously Aquarius is about the masses, people coming together. It's about freedom. And it's been a bit of a wild ride. So to watch Pluto retrograde now back into Capricorn, now we're going to see more breakdown going on with, government, political things, also positions of power. And we're going to really feel the pressure building really between now and August as the North and the South Node are getting ready to move and ingress into new signs in July and actually finally kind of perfect this square to Pluto. So as I said in my video, I did a video about this in particular, nobody gets a pass when Pluto is in a square to the node. So we're going to be feeling this pressure building in the Capricorn area of our chart. So you want to take a look at your chart, see where Capricorn is. Even if you don't have any planets there, Pluto is still making a transit through that particular house, really showing where something needs to be reborn, broken down, worked through, healed, acknowledged. It is about shadow. It is about power struggles. So we're going to see this become more intense over these next few months. And then also, like I said, we're going to have at the end of the week, this new moon in Gemini, with some heavy Neptunian action. We're going to see the sun and the moon in a square to Neptune. Is it going to be magical? Is it going to be mayhem? We're going to talk about it, and I'm going to take you through the 12 signs, and we'll take a look at how that's going to be affecting each and every one of the 12 rising signs, and I'll give you guys tarot predictions as well if you guys want to stay tuned until the end, okay? So let's start with today. Let's take a look at what we got going on today. Probably my favorite aspect is this Mercury trine Pluto. Actually, as you guys are watching this, I'm getting ready to teach a webinar. Maybe you guys are gonna be there, but I'll be teaching a webinar on Venus and Leo. If you guys missed it, don't worry. You guys, I'll be selling the tickets for the playback, but I selected this day in particular because Mercury's moving into its home sign of Gemini. So communication is going to be a little bit more clear. It's going to be easier to teach and also relay information, connect with other people. Mercury is associated with the sign of Gemini, so it's kind of playing with home field advantage. And Mercury is still picking up a trine to Pluto. So that ingress is nice because it's going to be in its own sign, but the trine to Pluto is about going deep, uncovering information, exchanging, sharing, talking. And so a really powerful communication day on tap. Obviously, we're getting ready also to come into the new moon energy. So, you know, Saturday and even parts of today, we've had the moon in Pisces, and it's been in a square. So it kind of feels like things have probably been a little discombobulated. You'll see that the moon is going to be ingressing and going into Aries later this morning. So it's going to be a very different energy. Maybe you're waking up, you're a little sleepy. Maybe yesterday felt like things were kind of like all over the place. Lots of change when we see mutable squares. But I think between Mercury's ingress, the trine to Pluto, and then also seeing the moon move into Aries, it's immediately going to start sextiling Mercury. And that'll be right around the 8:30 hour. I'm on Central Time, so it depends on where you are. But the morning makes me feel like it's kind of buzzing and it's kind of busy, especially picking up that sextile between the moon and Mercury. So when the moon's in Aries, we need more independence. We want to be more active. We're more focused on what we want to do. There's action, starting new things. So it's a nice kind of combination to have a fire moon and the sun in air. We're also going to notice that the moon is going to start picking up trines to Venus in Leo and also Mars in Leo. So actually this is like a great day to get out and about and do something. So if you don't have plans today, I recommend going and doing something. We're not going to really be picking up any squares. Mercury's not making its square to Saturn quite yet. Pretty great day on tap. Just know that this is the very first Jupiter-Venus square. So Venus, planet of love, relationships, abundance, connection, pleasure, is squaring Jupiter, right? Which is going to make things bigger. So you may find that if you're going out today, it's more fun, more food, more spending, you know, more sugar. There is a sense of excess. But I like the fact that it's at a 5, which is like kind of sexy. I feel like the challenge that we're going to see between the squares in Leo and the planets that we're going to have in Taurus, we'll see this intermittently throughout Venus's transit, because she will retrograde, is more better, right? Do we have to buy all of the things to win the person over? Do we have to have the luxury goods to be the most fabulous? Kind of like weighing our options and looking at, you know, does it make more sense to be conservative, get back down to basics, do something that's easy or natural, or do we have to kind of go ham and go and do all the bells and whistles when it comes to the fancy date night out? So some people are going to kind of be torn between one or the other. I laugh. It reminds me of kind of like having champagne dreams on a beer budget, right? Taurus is very simple, but Leo wants all of the romance and the extravagance. So to be honest with you, you can have a really amazing romantic day or a really amazing date, or spend a really amazing, you know, afternoon having quality time with your children or doing something creative by keeping something simple. I would love to see people go on a picnic today with their families or with their kids. Maybe, you know, go and set something up where you can do a craft, or you can paint, or you can do something creative without feeling like you have to break the bank. Because we are going to be more prone today to just kind of go all out with what we're spending or what we're doing. So watch for that with the Venus square Jupiter. We'll see several of those aspects though, like I said, with Venus's retrograde. This is just the first one. So then I'm going to take you guys into Monday, the 12th. Nothing too crazy going on. Probably the biggest aspect that we're going to see is that the moon is going to continue to go through the sign of Aries, and it's going to form both a sextile at some point to the sun, and then we're also going to see the moon that's going to be in a trine to Mars. So we're feeling kind of fired up, passionate. The moon making that sextile to the sun is the last, you know, nice, easy aspect that we're going to have before we come into the new moon. The moon will touch on Chiron briefly when it's sextiling the sun. And for me, that's just like, especially at a 19, it's going to be more about communicating and expressing wounds revolving around issues in relationships and what we can work through and what we can communicate and kind of talk through. I think that's going to be a theme in general, because we're going to see Mercury come into a square with Saturn later in the week. But there might just be more personal wounds coming up that we're needing to acknowledge and kind of deal with. And in particular, you know, Chiron wants you to open up the wound. It wants you to feel it. Aries can be about actual injuries, you know, head injuries, concussions, fevers, cuts, bruises, things that we're actually having to tend to and heal. So that can be another theme that can be coming up with this particular aspect. But I'm liking the trine to Mars. I'm liking the sextile to the sun. it does make me feel like it is possible to be able to work through stuff with communication. So Monday is a little bit of like an easier day. That's really all that we've kind of got going on. Then we're going to go to the 13th, which is going to be Tuesday. And in the morning, we're going to be picking up that moon coming into a square with Pluto, okay? So, you know, planets in the late degrees do feel a little bit more intense. Moon square Pluto, we're feeling a little, you know, reactionary at that moon in Aries, challenged with authority, feeling the burden of responsibility, burdens of work, having issues with superiors, some power struggles can be happening. So as you're waking up in the morning on the 13th, on Tuesday, just know that there is more intensity kind of in the skies. We're still picking up some of that energy with the sextile to the sun. We haven't lost that, so communication still is king, in my opinion. Then we're going to see later in the afternoon, the moon is going to officially come into the square right around like 12:30 Central Time, and then the moon's ingress into Taurus is going to take place, and things get a little bit easier. We like to see that exalted moon in the sign of Taurus. It is more stable, it is more secure, it feels more comfortable, and the moon is going to touch on its own north node. So take a look at what's going on in your life in the afternoon on Tuesday. When the moon is in Taurus, we want grounding and security. We want to be working on self-esteem, and we want to be taking a look at our finances and our resources and our values. I love the moon conjunct north node conjunct Jupiter because to me it feels very earthy and very comfortable and very abundant. I'm loving the sextile to Saturn, so it's kind of like the dream team where Saturn has the vision and, you know, Taurus gets into building something and creating it. But we are going to start feeling a lot of these squares between, you know, the moon in Taurus and planets in Leo. So a little bit of some funky energy here. It may feel like we're more focused on our own personal pleasure or resources or what we are investing in or buying or consuming. That's, you know, still picking up that energy of Venus square Jupiter. So it could be another day where there's like, oh, I want this, I have to have this. And there could be like excess purchases or indulging a little bit more than usual. So we'll see that conjunction happen between the North Node and then Jupiter. And so watch, I have a feeling it's going to be like cravings in the afternoon going into the evening. The North Node moon conjunctions happening in the PM hours, and then it's going to come into conjunction with Jupiter really late at night, actually early in the morning. So you guys might find that, you know, if you're up at night, you're snacking or you're shopping, or just be mindful if you can't sleep and you find yourself just kind of craving something or indulging, there can be a tendency to go ham. And then we're going to wake up in the morning on the 14th, which is going to be Wednesday. And we're watching the moon come into a square with Venus, still kind of longing, needing something, some kind of conflict between what we need versus what other people need. And then we're going to watch the moon continue to move through Taurus, and it's going to come into a square with Mars. So that's going to be happening more so in the afternoon when the moon hits about 14 degrees right here. So depending on where you are at, sometime between, you know, like 2:30 and 5:30 p.m., that moon in Taurus square Mars. A little agitated, right? Snap decisions, feeling like we're kind of touchy, we're kind of pushy. Be mindful with like financial decisions, investments, things that are changing with the markets. There can be more pressure to like make snap decisions to buy, sell, invest in something, things changing very quickly. And then we're going to start to see the moon coming into contact with Uranus. Now that's going to happen in the evening hours. Does feel a little bit more emotionally destabilizing. It does feel like shocks and surprises. We can feel like a little restless, a little irritable, maybe have some issues sleeping. I would really recommend before the moon comes into conjunction with Uranus, you know, grounding exercises. You know, take a walk outside, go put your feet in the grass, do some yoga, sit down, do something that's going to help you really connect to the element of Earth, so you can better, you know, feel rested. Because when the moon and Uranus are in conjunction, especially overnight, we're up thinking about things, we're restless, and it's a little bit harder to calm down. Okay, so that is going to be Now taking us into the 15th. And we've got some different energies happening here. So you're going to start to feel Mercury coming into a square with Saturn. Okay, so this will be happening intermittently. Maybe you're feeling it on the 14th. It'll go from the 14th to about the 16th. But Mercury in Gemini, important because the sun is in Gemini. So we want to look at what's going on with Mercury. Similar to when we had the sun come into a square with Saturn, we were dealing with delays, limitations, feeling kind of like heavy burdens, or feeling that there was like a sense of criticism, right? Now we have Mercury, the messenger, which is about the mind, communication, travel, exchanges, business, coming into a square with Saturn in Pisces. Now the square between planets in Pisces and planets in Gemini is a huge theme in the Gemini new moon. And to put it very simply, Gemini is information, it's communication, ideas, exchange, sharing. It's air, right? It's mutable air. It wants to kind of run around, it wants freedom, it wants to be active, it's busy. It doesn't want to just settle. And then we have Pisces, which is more Neptunian, which is receptive, intuitive. It just wants to sit and it wants to absorb. It wants to listen. So there's some kind of conflict going on between these two separate energies, and we're really going to be feeling this because we're going to have both planets, Mercury and also Neptune, in their ruling signs. So even though they're not making a square to each other yet, both of them are kind of in this tug of war between the rational mind and the intuition. You're going to be feeling this, especially as we get later into the week from about Thursday through the weekend. What I'm not crazy about is the fact that it's at a 7. So this does tell me that on the 15th, there can be challenges and delays in communication with relationships and how we're relating to other people and whether or not we're giving the support that we need. And really, I want you guys to be asking yourself, am I just talking, right? Am I just waiting to talk, or am I listening? Because we're going to learn throughout this week and really the next 2 weeks after this new moon is seated, that there is a time for listening and there's a time for speaking up. And sometimes less is more. Sometimes it's all about sitting and manifesting and visualizing things and coming up with a strategy plan rather than being kind of scattered and just kind of throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks. Not the best day to have a serious conversation with somebody, not the best day to be asking for constructive criticism or feedback. It can be a time where people are like, I can't take your call, I'm busy, I didn't see your call, I was sleeping. And the name of the game with mutable squares is change. We're going to see lots of change over the next couple of weeks after this new moon happens because there's so many squares between the sun and the moon and Neptune. It means that we're needing to take a step back and really reevaluate what we believe in, what the plan is, what's the strategy, how do we move forward, and actually visualize and manifest before we take steps forward. Otherwise, we're going to be feeling like we're in a bit of a Neptunian haze. So, not the best day to have a serious talk about a relationship. It can be a time where we are feeling like somebody is not listening or we're not getting the feedback that we need. They're not connecting to us in a timely manner. Saturn does deal with time, but Saturn in Pisces is going to be about invisible emotional things that are not necessarily seen. So maybe we're trying to talk to somebody and getting feedback, trying to get information, trying to get them to kind of communicate, and it feels like a one-way street. Might be feeling like we're having a bit of like a conversation with a wall. So you're going to be feeling a little frustrated when it comes to communication throughout pretty much most of the day on Thursday. Now that moon is still in Taurus. It's going to be building towards both a sextile with Neptune, where we're feeling like we need to tap into our intuition, a little bit more sensitive, emotional, and inspired, and a trine with Pluto, where there is some emotional power if we dig deep. And then in the PM hours, we're going to see that the moon will ingress into Gemini. But for right now, most of Thursday is a little irritating. It feels to me like we're grouchy. That's what happens with the balsamic moon. As the moon is coming into the new moon phase, we're clearing things out. So you guys might feel as the moon is going through Taurus, the 14th, the 15th, there's a lot of like, oh, but what about me and my needs? And I'm not getting the validation that I need. We seem to forget that Mars and Venus is in Leo right now. So it can be very passionate, very creative, very dramatic. But if we're not getting that immediate kind of attention, right, that satisfaction, there can be a sense of like kind of having like a bit of like a panic, a freak out, like a somebody almost acting like a child, right? Leo is very playful. and there can be more drama than there needs to be. All right, so then the moon's going to keep moving through Taurus. It's going to pick up a trine to Pluto in the late afternoon, early evening at 29 degrees. And then it's going to ingress into Gemini in the evening on Thursday. So now we have the moon, Mercury, and the sun all in Gemini. So there's a lot more opportunity for like communication. Something you're going to notice is that the moon is going to, on Friday the 16th, continue to move through Gemini, come into first a square with Saturn. Okay, so this is around 10:30 Central Time, so sometime between 8:30 and 11:30, depending on where you are. And it's going to square Saturn. So it's picking up that similar energy of what we saw when we had the Mercury square Saturn on Thursday. So that whole, you didn't get back to me, you didn't respond to the email, you left me hanging in the text message, you know, what's going on, is kind of getting like agitated. And when the moon is conjunct Mercury, it's very chatty, right? Especially when it's in the sign of Gemini. So it's almost like there is some information that is coming in right before the new moon that's like, hey, can we talk about it? No, I'm not ready yet. Give me some space. Or like, let me review this and get back to you. Or like, you know, don't call us, we'll call you. And it's irritating. There's no real easy way to put it. It's irritating. Still not the best day to be trying to get confirmation or, you know, responses, trying to get people to sign things, agree to things. Emails might go missing, or there might be a sense of just, you know, there being delays. But still, there is information that's coming in, and it might mean that we need to take a step back and go, you know what, I don't know yet. Let me think about it. Let me sit on it for a little bit. Let me problem solve and let me get back to you. Rather than ghosting and leaving people hanging, communicate and express the fact that you're not ready or you don't know yet. A lot of the squares I've experienced with Gemini and Pisces, just, you know, this last like month or so, has made me realize that we don't have all the answers yet. Not everything has to be planned. We have to leave room for things to potentially change. It is okay to change our mind, and also staying open. And the way to be able to communicate, explore, share is through creating that space for like the universe to intervene and allow there to be kind of changes. And also that there needs to be a little bit of taking a step back and visualizing things before we go about stuff, going through the motions of like, okay, this is what I imagine myself doing. What are the steps that I have to go through before I get from point A to point B? And really integrating more of our intuition before we go about saying something, doing something, or making a move, right? That's that Gemini energy. So on the 16th, the only other aspect that you're going to see is that Mercury is going to start coming into a sextile with Venus. The moon is going to do that too. So once Mercury hits around, 9-10 degrees, it's sextiling Venus. Easier for us to emotionally relate, still in the balsamic period of the moon. So we're not going to get too much going on. You know, when the new moon is happening, we want to get quiet. We want to sit and set intentions and reflect. So really on the 16th, it's a time to go inward more, in my opinion. It's not really an outward kind of social, you know, busy time, especially with the squares to Saturn. It feels like plans aren't going to go according to plan. And then we're going to see that moon continue to move through Gemini, taking us into the 17th. Now, it depends on where you are in the world. I know we're going to have the new moon happening in different time zones, but specifically, the moon is going to come into a conjunction with the sun at 26 degrees. So the new moon will be at 26 degrees. It's going to be on June 17th, 2023 or 18th, depending on where you are in the world. 9:37 p.m. Pacific time, 12:37 a.m. Eastern time on the 18th, and it will be at 26 degrees, which is a Taurus degree. That's pretty much what's happening. You're going to see on the 17th, 18th, the new moon is taking place. Big part of that is the sun and the moon in a square to Neptune, and just after the new moon on Sunday, the 18th, you will see the moon go into Cancer. And it'll trine the south node in Saturn. So I'll talk about that when I finish talking about the new moon. I'd like to read you guys the Sabian symbol. Somebody asked me recently in the comments, why do we round up? Because it's so many degrees and then change. So 26 degrees and change. Let me put the exact, there we go. It's 26 degrees and 43 minutes. So because it's already gone over 26 degrees, we read 27 degrees for the Sabian symbol. Those of you guys who want to check this book out, you want to use this to kind of read along, you can check out my Amazon list below. All the books and the decks that I use, I always have there. So this is going to be page number 116. Gemini 27, a gypsy coming out of the forest. The theme is the search of success. The symbol speaks to the individual's first realization that he is a person in his own right, to his native self-confidence and eagerness for success and recognition. The image of a gypsy coming out of the forest symbolizes emergence of selfhood and certain childlike optimistic readiness for a new experience and adventure. The emphasis here is on expansion of consciousness and how the development of complacency through outreach and learning and how to cooperate with others. Competency, excuse me. At its highest, the symbol speaks to joy and the ability to express the self freely and delight in personal accomplishments. Watch for nonconformity, social mistrust, and inability to cooperate and feel comfortable in social relationships. The accent is on curiosity and enthusiasm. Naive optimism may be the catalyst that launches you into a new adventure. Your greatest adventure lies in having faith in your ability to succeed. Trust in whatever you need, and it will be there if you need it. Guard against trying to be too self-sufficient. Rejecting assistance or offer can help deprive another of a chance to be of service. Stepping stones are expansion of experience, adventure, curiosity, inquisitiveness, interest, emergence, quest, aspiration, ambition, and nonconformity. It is the 26th, so it is connecting to Taurus. It's a Taurus energy if you follow degree astrology. So it's about not conforming, taking chances, emerging when it comes to developing your own resources, your self-esteem, finances. This is a bit of like a slippery new moon. Obviously, new moons are new seeds, right? So we have new moons every 28 days. It's planting a seed, which will eventually become a full moon in 6 months' time. So if you happen to be a Gemini, sun, moon, or rising, this is really significant for you because it's your new moon. If you have any personal planets around, let's say 25 to 27 degrees of Gemini, it's even more significant because it's giving you a fresh start in regards to where that planet is in your chart. Personally, I think that this is going to give us an opportunity to go one of two ways, okay? When I think of Pisces and I think of Gemini, I think of double-bodied signs. Gemini is the twins. We've got two faces, two masks. Pisces is the fish. One is going upstream, one is going downstream. So there's some sense of duality, choices, options, feeling torn, right? And the ability to kind of flip-flop. And when we have a new moon in Gemini, we're planting seeds revolving around information, ideas, sharing, moving around, short distance travel, communication. It's a time where a lot of people decide that they're going to start writing something, they're going to learn something, they're going to buy a new car. Maybe they're thinking about planning a trip, learning a new language. It really depends on where Gemini is in your chart. So you want to cast your chart, take a look at which house Gemini is. Even if you don't have any planets there, you're setting a new goal or a new intention revolving around that particular house. Now, new moons, like I said, happen every month. The conjunction between the sun and the moon is the new moon, and it's the start of a new cycle. So some things that you might really focus on during a new moon in Gemini would be communication and intellect, because Gemini is known for its intellectual nature and strong communication skills. So during a new moon in Gemini, there's a focus on expressing ideas, sharing information, engaging in stimulating conversations, and it's a very favorable time for networking, learning, and expanding your knowledge. Secondly, it's about curiosity and being able to adapt in various situations. Because Gemini is very curious, they're very adaptable, they're open to change. And I think that with so many fixed stuff going on in the skies, that North Node, Jupiter, Uranus and Taurus, Venus and Mars and Leo, it does help to have some changeable things kind of going on. It allows us to be more flexible for trying new experiences, embracing different perspectives and exploring in general. It's a really good time to stay open-minded, be flexible, and be willing to adapt to new ideas. Social connections are huge with the new moon in Gemini because Gemini is a very sociable sign. It's ruled by Mercury, so it wants to communicate, but it also wants to connect. So those of you guys who are looking to join new social media groups or networking, making new friends, engaging in new social activities, it's a wonderful time to do that because you might feel more of a desire to want to connect with like-minded individuals and join groups or communities that expand your social circle. mental stimulation is key, okay? So this will be a theme really for not just the next 6 months, but the immediate next 2 weeks until we get to the next full moon. Because, you know, Gemini's influence is primarily mental activity, we're going to find that mental activity is going to be highlighted during this new moon phase. So for the next 2 weeks, brainstorming, problem solving, engaging in activities that stimulate your mind, writing, reading, learning, you know, puzzles, things that are going to get you kind of thinking can be particularly positive to help you kind of exercise the brain and the communication skills over these next few weeks. I think that Gemini is wonderful at multitasking, although this is a new moon that's not ideal for multitasking because there is a bit of a blind spot with the squares to Neptune. But because Gemini excels at multitasking and juggling multiple interests, it's important to be mindful that that's in the air. Stay focused, avoid spreading ourselves too thin at this time. Decision making is also going to be highlighted, but remember to weigh all your options before making choices and be mindful that there is very heavy Neptunian squares. So once again, that tug of war between the mental mind, right, and the intuitive mind with Saturn and Neptune in the sign of Pisces. I feel like without a good opportunity to sit down and reflect and get an idea of where we're going and really go through the motions of visualizing and feeling it and experiencing it and seeing it before we take action, we're kind of just driving blind, right? We're just kind of, you know, throwing things at the wall to see what sticks. Neptune can be a very sticky energy, okay? The higher octave of Neptune is feeling inspired, divinely connected, very creative, connected with, you know, the masses, really in touch with our higher self and other dimensions. The lower octave is zoning out, eating food in front of the television, doing drugs, drinking, oversleeping, isolating, and just not wanting to be present, right? It's just totally disassociating. So to see all of these planets in Gemini that wants to communicate, share, you know, what have you, come into a square with both Saturn and Neptune tells me that we need to be mindful of what we are actually saying and what we actually feel, because Pisces is a water sign. We also need to be mindful that, you know, there's a lot of opportunities to learn, connect, and communicate with people. And if we're not doing our due diligence to actually get outside of ourselves and connect with others, if we're disassociating, disconnecting, hiding out, we're not going to be able to engage the way that we want. We're going to miss opportunities to learn and to be able to share. So be mindful that a big part of Mercury or Gemini energy is about expressing yourself and sharing ideas. So for this new moon to be happening, there's a strong urge to share yourself creatively, whether through writing, speaking, or any form of artistic expression. It's an opportune time to communicate your thoughts and ideas effectively. We do have some support between Mercury and the sextile to Venus and Mars, so there's a lot of creative energy in the skies right now. I think that if you find yourself in a situation during this new moon where you're feeling like you're being pulled in two directions, take a step back, right? Take a breath, sit, meditate, reflect, take some alone time before making a decision. And also keep in mind that the next 2 weeks, we're going to realize that we really have to kind of open ourselves up to new ideas or new directions. The fact that both of these planets, Neptune and Mercury, are in rulership, even though they're not in a square, it's picking up the same energy because Mercury is square Saturn and the sun and the moon is square Neptune. Now, there is sometimes issues when we see squares between Gemini and planets that are in Pisces revolving around clarity. So when the sun and the moon, which is the conscious self and the subconscious self, come into conflict with Neptune, the question is, you know, what can you achieve? What can you do? What do you have to say? What do you think? What do you believe in? How can you visualize where it is that you want to go? I also feel like there can be some room for deception, manipulation, dishonesty, lying, people not coming forward and communicating because they don't know what to say. They don't have an answer, trying to stall, trying to drag their feet, trying to distort or manipulate situations. Gemini is a sign that deals with television, okay? It's commercials, it's things you hear on the radio, it's watching TV, things that you read in your hand, right? It used to be newspapers, now it's like your social media. So you guys want to be very mindful that there is going to be a very strong and deliberate agenda over these next few weeks to distort information online. You're going to see things that are edited, things that are manipulated, things that have been distorted. Sound is Neptune, things that have been changed. And you can't just automatically assume that anything that you read on the internet is true. It's going to be hard to find facts in the midst of this Mercury square Saturn and planets that are going to be square Neptune. Now, in the big picture, this is setting up 6 months of us questioning, the reality that we thought was true. Is it real? Can we believe this? And Neptune does deal with what is hidden, what is secretive, what's behind the scenes. It's about religion. It's about prisons, hospitals, secret societies. And Gemini is going to be kind of digging into all of that, trying to see if it can bring information up. But if there's one thing we've learned in recent years with eclipses in Gemini, North Node through Gemini, is that there's two sides to every story. And so I think that the most frustrating thing for me that I've learned with some of these squares is that whether you're watching two different news networks or you're reading two different, news sources, or you're living in two different countries, we are being fed different information, right? So everybody's getting different information, misleading information, information that is not allowing us to be connected, not allowing us to have clarity. It is creating division, it's creating separation. So a lot of this Sun, Moon, square Neptune is also going to be, are you contributing to that, right? Are you just parroting things back? Are you actually doing your due diligence to get outside of looking at a screen and connecting with the world? And have we become so consumed with connecting, through social media or a phone that we're not connecting with real human beings? And is that in itself actually creating us imprisoned and making us less likely to communicate? You go out, you go to the store, you go out to dinner, you walk around, you see everybody's stuck to their phone. Something I noticed a lot while I was on vacation this last week is just how many people, when they're paying to go and be in an exotic location, will just sit there and be looking at their phone. And they're so disconnected from the world around them, losing opportunities to connect with strangers, meet other people, learn things, explore new places, and not be present. So for me, on a personal level, what I'm doing with this particular new moon is making a conscious effort to spend less time on my phone, less time connected to media, more time reading, more time going out, interacting with other people, trying to meet new people, and have real life connections and communications, and not kind of buying into what's going to be happening over the next few weeks, where there's going to be so much drama and so much stuff coming out on the news or on social media that we're getting sucked into it. Remember that Gemini is information, Pisces is intuition, knowing and receiving. So one of the exercises I encourage you guys to do throughout this next week is really ask yourself, okay, do I have an answer for this? Do I believe in this? Do I not? What is my goal? How can I sit down and write it all out step by step, and then visualize and actually feel how I'm going to bring that particular manifestation to life? Do I have a system? Is it orderly, right? That's what Mercury wants to help you do. I love that the sun and the moon are conjunct Juno, right? This is going to send like the twin flame people like all over the place. You're going to hear a lot of people talking about the twin flame stuff with this new moon because Gemini is double bodies. So it does talk about two particular people, two souls in one body, or, two partnerships or two options, two choices. I am not one of those people who talks about that, but I do think it's interesting that Juno is going to be in conjunction because Juno is about partnership themes. New relationships coming in, new choices and new options. As much as I hate to say this, but like the summer is going to be wild, y'all. It's going to be really crazy. The Venus retrograde with Venus square Uranus several times. We're going to see Venus conjunct Juno, also conjunct Lilith. We're going to see a lot of people realizing that they're in relationships with the wrong person, that there's other options there. Soulmates are going to be showing up. We're going to have choices, and we're going to be really asking ourselves, am I on the right path with the person that I'm on? Should I be with somebody else? People who haven't been in relationships for periods of time, you might just magically have somebody kind of drop into your life and realize that, that's what you've been missing all along. Soulmates. When I say soulmates, it doesn't have to be romantic relationships. Business partners, friends, people that you collaborate with are going to start coming in. So I like that Juno is here. It's saying that there is a need to really reflect and set intentions revolving around commitments, and Juno in Gemini is how we're communicating, how we're committed to communicating better. I think it's pretty safe to say that some of the hangups in relationships can be from miscommunication and all the things that we don't say, and not communicating clearly and making assumptions or leaving people hanging, or being so kind of stuck up in our own stuff that we're unable to be able to, connect with somebody on a personal level. I would encourage you guys to, pick up the phone and call somebody, send somebody a text, try to connect with them, because you never know who needs to hear from you. The squares to Neptune is going to bring up people who are going to be feeling lonely, isolated, depressed, confused, and kind of being in a situation where they need support. So we can work with this square which generally feels very challenging and very confrontational, to push us into, hey, how are you doing? How's your day going? You know, if you go out, put your phone in your purse, put your phone in your pocket, walk around and say good morning to somebody. Strike up a conversation with someone at the store or at the bus stop. Get to know your neighbors. This is really what's going to help us really open up and like learn how to communicate and engage again. The last several years has made it so difficult for us to do that, between masks, lockdowns, all of this stuff. It's weird to see how people are so afraid to kind of connect. And Gemini wants us to communicate and connect with our communities. So getting out and meeting other people and walking the dog and meeting your neighbors and going to barbecues and these things are things that we want to do. We don't want to be scared into connecting with other people because of what's going on in the world. I love that the theme also of Juno is about serving somebody else, you know, being able to give to somebody else, giving somebody thoughts, giving somebody attention, giving somebody love, being able to tell them how you want to better help them. So if you're looking to better connect with your partner, something that can come up is, what do you need? How are you feeling? You know, well, how was your day today? Really connect on that level and be asking all of those questions. The new moon is going to be in conjunct Pluto and Capricorn, so there's a theme of a need to identify potential power struggles, blocks, hangups. It's an irritating aspect. I'm not going to lie to you. You'll see this from the new moon and for a couple days until both the sun and moon come out of that 29 degrees. It's irritating. The quincunx represents those two not seeing eye to eye and getting along. And this is 6th house to Capricorn. So it can represent needing to do tasks and duties and, you know, communicating with coworkers and working out schedules and, you know, finding like a better workflow. But they're trying to reconcile. And so the fact that they're making this aspect to each other, it's very similar as like a Mercury square Saturn, right? Which we have. You know, Saturn rules Capricorn, Mercury rules Gemini. With these two in a square to each other, they're not seeing eye to eye. And, you know, Pisces is saying, you know, be quiet. Listen, don't talk more, just observe. And Mercury's saying, but I have something to say. So there is a sense of us kind of grappling with the fact that there is this looming, you know, challenge or issue or power struggle or this thing that's kind of keeping us from being able to communicate. Now, out in the world, I think it's going to be about the effects of, you know, government and big business and their power when it comes to media. I think it's going to be this realization that there's a lot of money in it. You know, pretty much all of the media outlets, except for independent, are pretty much owned. They're controlling the narrative. They're pulling the strings. They're making decisions about what we hear, what we think, and what we're, you know, absorbing. Keep in mind that Pluto is now back in a sextile with Neptune. So that kind of agenda to do these things behind the scenes and manipulate and change things, especially when it comes to war, when it comes to taxes, when it comes to money that's being spent, what's going on in other countries, it's very strong. So I think part of this particular new moon is going to be a pushback where we're going to see both the good and the bad, both sides of this, where, you know, certain journalists and certain platforms are going to push back against this and want to expose it, while others are going to fall victim to wanting to continue to carry on the narrative and bringing in new narratives revolving around, I think, you know, issues pertaining to the air. Gemini is the air, the environment. Obviously, having mutable squares can produce things revolving around extreme weather. I remember saying to you guys a few weeks ago that, you know, as we see Mars go into Leo, the opposition to Pluto, the square to Uranus, that we would see fires. Whether or not these fires are man-made is neither here nor there, but it's kind of unusual because Uranus does deal with things that are like combustible. So we're going to see more of Mars coming into a square with Uranus, and we're going to hear more of this chatter in regards to what's going on with, you know, with our planet and what's happening in regards to potential like future, dare I say, like lockdowns revolving around environmental issues. So watch for when Mars is kind of coming into the square in the next week or two. I think we're going to see more of this talk, environmental concerns. So, you know, ironically, like I said, with that Mercury square Saturn energy, it's very similar to the quincunx, and it's going to be whether or not we speak up and we say something or we go up against certain powers in our lives that feel like they have control over us of what we can say, what we can think, what we can share. Mercury square Saturn, what is fact? What is fiction? You know, how are things possible? What do I believe in? Where is the proof? Where is the data? And that's going to be something that you want to ask yourself, because there is room for doubt here. On a personal level, it is possible that you might be doubting whether or not you can sell that successful novel, whether or not you can change jobs, relocate, you know, find the love of your life, whether or not you're capable of being able to get out of debt or overcome a health issue. We want to be really mindful with the squares to Neptune that there can be a sense of us going like, well, what's the point? You know, it's just going to be too hard, and the world's too difficult, and this is too scary that I'm just going to stay in bed. And if you choose to go down that path of self-undoing, right, last degrees of Pisces, it can have further mental and communication implications that can be detrimental to our mental health, to our physical health, to our ability to kind of move around and communicate and share. So I do feel like there is a need to kind of challenge the narrative over the next 2 weeks, but also challenge yourself to get outside of your comfort zone, get outside of the box, be open to things changing. Don't feel like things have to be black and white and be very rigid. Neptune teaches us that it just takes a little bit of dream, a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of a vision to be able to bring something into reality. And remember that Mercury is in a square with Venus and Leo, which is romantic, inspiring, communicative, very creative. Mars and Venus are moving together. They're very passionate. You guys are going to see throughout these next few weeks that there is lots of opportunity for creative outbursts, you know, changing where we're going in a relationship for the better, things becoming more romantic, things feeling more fun, more free, more fulfilling, exciting, because it's going to also square Uranus. But I think that this is paving the way for, you know, what's going to be 6 months of us questioning, what are we capable of, right? What can we actually achieve, and how do we get there? And how do we sprinkle a little bit more magic in order to make that happen? Then we're going to see just shortly after that, the moon is going to be moving into Cancer. So that ingress is going to be happening early morning on the 18th. That's going to be next Sunday. Moon in Cancer is comfortable. It's in its home sign, coming out of the new moon phase. And then the moon is going to trine the south node in Scorpio. So there is like a collective letting go, releasing, and healing. And then we're going to begin to see the moon come into a trine with Saturn. Okay. Mercury, obviously, and the sun are still in Pisces. You're going to feel the square pretty much all day. We're going to pick up on a moon square Saturn in the PM hours next Sunday. And that's pretty much everything that you're going to see for this next week. Brief sextile to Jupiter. So we're kind of feeling more optimistic about where we're going and what we're building. So I like next Sunday. We'll talk about it a little bit more. Obviously, moon in Cancer, more domestic, more home, spending time with family, things like that. Feeling a little bit more kind of reserved. So perhaps maybe you're going to be spending your Sunday at home, or maybe you're, you know, setting intentions to kind of disconnect a little bit and unwind. And hopefully you're spending your next Sunday not on your phone, not on your computer. You know, if you're watching this, you know, watch Astro Weather and put your phone away. You don't need to be on your phone. Be more so open to what's kind of coming through intuitively, and be very mindful that it's not a day to be making big decisions with that Sun square Neptune. Be mindful also of weather and driving and clarity and visibility, because that square can bring some issues in regards to that. I think we're definitely going to hear some stuff about storms. Okay, so with that being said, let me take you guys through the 12 signs, the 12 rising signs real quick. And I will make this a whole sign chart. Obviously, most of you guys know, but I will put it out there once again. I am a Western astrologer, obviously with an emphasis on working with Placidus. That's my preference, but I'm going to show you guys the new moon in whole sign. So this will be your Western whole sign predictions for the new moon in Gemini that'll be taking place on the 17th or the 18th of June, depending on where you live. If you want to use Placidus, then go and take a look at your chart, find which house 26 degrees of Gemini resides in. That's the house that you're going to be having your new moon. You might have to listen to 2 rising signs. Choose your own adventure. If you guys want to listen to this for your progress chart, you can do that as well. Totally fine. Obviously, we're going to start with Aries and Aries rising. What's up, Aries? How's it going? I'll be working today with the Romantic Victorian deck, my favorite, and giving you guys my tarot predictions. All right, Aries, so here's the deal. You have this new moon taking place in your third house, okay? So a lot of what I was saying throughout my discussion today really applies to you. Third house is all going to be about communication, contracts, learning, cars, siblings, your kind of neighborhood, getting around town. So if you're wanting to set intentions to buy a new gadget, plan a trip, have a conversation with somebody, chit chat with someone, you can. As a reminder, Mercury is also in the same sign, so it's bringing even more attention to the third house than usual, and it's in positive aspect to Mars in your fifth house. So being romantic, communicating, sharing, writing a little love note to somebody, planning a fun trip, communicating more with like playmates, children, lovers, right? All that stuff is very possible. I think you're gonna like this energy because it's also sextiling your sun, moon, or rising sign. And my recommendation for you with this new moon is to listen, not just talk. It's a lot of before you say something, really checking in with your higher self and making sure that it resonates. Card that I got for you is the Queen of Cups. So this is about emotions, intuition, and also your sensitivity psychically. Can be about a water sign, so a Cancer or a Scorpio or a Pisces can pop up. But I think it can be about you nurturing more your emotional feelings, learning how to speak from the heart, communicating, and also putting your feelings or your intuition into words and being able to relate this to another person and let them know how you feel. Good luck, Aries. We've got Taurus and Taurus rising. You're going to be having this new moon that's going to be taking place in Gemini in your natal second house, which is all about money, right? You guys like that. Money, resources, new income, self-esteem, security, filling yourself. You know, the second house is an energy that you're familiar with because it traditionally is like a Taurus-related home. The new moon in the second house can give you the opportunity to set intentions revolving around bringing in a second income. So if you're looking to bring in a new income stream, you can. Mercury is also in this house, so it tells me that you're ready to talk business. You're really feeling your self-esteem. You're building on that. You're learning how to be better about really trusting and believing in your talent. I do think that some of your talents or the ways that you're making money may revolve around communication, sharing, websites, ideas, you know, teaching, something that might have to also do with media. So if you're looking to bring in a new income or to start something new in regards to intentions revolving around spending habits, this is a good new moon to do that. You definitely want to be focusing on abundance, setting yourself up for abundance. The card that I get for you is the Nine of Wands. Sounds about right. It's kind of being like, man, you know, I've been pushing and really doing things on my own and doing everything I can and like really kind of surveying what's gone on financially over these last few months. The Nine of Wands is an energy that also can be about getting ready to complete something. It is right before you get to the Ten of Wands. So it's also encouraging you not to give up. So if you've been feeling a little discouraged by things financially or feeling like you just can't catch a break, this card coming up is letting you know that you have all the capabilities of being able to achieve your financial goals, but it's important that you keep going, okay? Good luck, Taurus. Gemini and Gemini rising, this is your new moon. If you happen to have your birthday also, the 16th through the 18th, it's extra special for you. You're having a new moon on your birthday, so it's a brand new year, it's a fresh start. If you have a new moon in your first house and you also have your ruler within the first house, that's pretty significant. It kind of means like, you know, you're going to have your moment to shine. You have your moment to say something. You're really kind of tapping into your ideas, your communication, your personal goals, right? So what is it that you want? The fact that you have a new moon in your first house, it can be about setting goals in regards to your appearance, your body, what you need personally. Now, Mercury also does have strong ties to your fourth house, so I think it can be about you saying how you feel, where you want to live, what you need, where you're going. And yes, there are some challenging aspects to Saturn, so there's a lot of like what I need and what your boss says you can or cannot do. But in spite of that, I do feel like it's about you going, okay, I've done my work, I'm committed to, you know, business. It's been very much about professional life these last few months. Now what about me? What do I want? You only get this new moon once a year, so I recommend making the most of it. I do love the aspects that it's making both to Venus and Mars in your 3rd house, which can be really inspiring you to communicate and be more creative and more affectionate in how you share your feelings and your ideas with other people. And if you're looking to make a physical change, update your look, setting intentions revolving around how you want to communicate, how you want to sound, how you want to dress, how you want your hair to look, this is a great new moon to set these intentions. Just try not to get kind of hung up on some of these squares to the 10th house, because to me it seems like you're trying to kind of separate yourself from your professional image and you're focusing more on what you need. And in true Gemini fashion, you get the 2 of Swords, which is like kind of between a rock and a hard place. Do I do this or do I do that? You know, this is what's expected of me, but this is what I want. I could see that there is a sense of you getting a little squirrely and being like, okay, you know, I've just had a lot of pressure on me. I just need to cut loose. I just need to do what I need to do. Just like, let me have some room to kind of change. And so the 2 of Swords can be you going back and forth being like, well, there's a lot of responsibility on me now. Do I have the freedom of being able to do that? You know, the truth is all the mutable signs are under, especially the first 10 degrees, right, are under a Saturn transit this year. So there is more limitations. There is more, nope, I'm going to kind of curb that a little bit. I'm going to be more cautious rather than being kind of sporadic, and I'm going to be better grounded. So if you're going back and forth in a situation, you're going to think it through. Maybe that's the Saturn square. Good luck, Gemini, and happy birthday to you. We've got Cancer and Cancer rising. What's going on, Cancer? You have a new moon taking place in Gemini in your natal 12th house. This is all about the hidden, psychic, private, spiritual realm. Okay, so the 12th house is your bedroom, it's your dreams, it's your intuition, it's private spaces, healing centers, your connection with source and spirit. You're getting ready to come into your birthday pretty soon, so this is like that time where everything's clearing out, right? And you're getting really quiet. You're thinking about what the next year is going to look like for you. So the best thing you can do is get some private space with this new moon. With Mercury being there also, perhaps you're feeling a little, you know, emotionally or kind of like mentally rattled. There can be a sense of you feeling like, I need to be alone, I need to sleep, I need to be in my bedroom, I need to get a reading, I need to talk to a therapist, because this is a lot of mental energy in the 12th house of really realizing that things are getting ready to shift and things are getting ready to change. It's natural right before your birthday that you have some stuff shake out. So if you're experiencing that during this new moon, don't worry. I would really recommend sitting and doing some breath work. It'd be really helpful with these planets in Gemini, because Gemini can be about breathing. It can also be about writing things out and journaling and kind of reflecting on where you want this next year to go. Mercury's in this house as well. So I do think that it's a really strong period of time to connect with your higher self, maybe get a reading, maybe possibly even do some like dream interpretation to better understand what's going on in your subconscious realm so you can make better decisions with what's going on in your waking life. Yeah, we're catching some squares to Saturn, you know, from the 9th to the 12th house. So there can be things shifting, revolving around your belief and your philosophy. There can also be challenges revolving around education, learning, continuing education, and travel. So if you happen to be doing any of these things, you might feel like there is some disconnection or there's some hangups that are going on. The card that I get for you is the Fool. Okay, so to me, this is about like kind of abandoning any doubt and getting ready to really step into new opportunities, new lessons, new places, new cycles, right? Taking a chance. So rather than freaking out in that 12th house and being like, oh my God, what's going to happen? I would replace fear with excitement. I would get excited about the new cycles that are coming. I would embrace the fact that there's going to be new people, places, and things that are going to be showing up, allowing you to kind of not start over, but start new, right? Hopefully that's helpful for you, Cancer. Good luck. For my Leos and Leo rising, you're going to have a new moon taking place in the sign of Gemini in your natal 11th house. This is a fun one, right? Because the 11th house is all about friends, parties, social networks, your goals, anything in regards to celebrations, and the money that you make from your job, from your career. Obviously, new moons are important for you too because it's a solar aspect. So they're usually pretty strong for you, Leo. Gemini naturally sextiles your ascendant, and it's also making all these nice aspects to Venus and Mars in your sign. So I feel like this is really good for you. Getting out there, connecting with friends, joining new networks, socializing, and also just a lot of communicating and connecting to other people. And to me, it seems like that's what you need. because you're really raring to go with Mars and Venus in your sign. So you're ready to have a good time. You're feeling very lovable. You're feeling very creative. And there's a lot of energy leaning into just being able to socialize more. Now, if you haven't been able to see your friends as much, right? You've had, Jupiter in your 10th house. You've had Pluto in your 7th house. Maybe work and relationship stuff has just been all consuming. And like now it's time to reconnect and spend more time with your friends. And maybe you're trying to travel with friends. Maybe you're just trying to spend more time kind of connecting with them. That's how you want to use this energy, especially with Mercury being there as well. Likely you're going to have friends that are going to be reaching out to you and trying to communicate and trying to connect. Yeah, you'll pick up some squares to Saturn and also to Neptune, but I think that this is going to be about opening up more to them and talking to them about just how, life has been affecting you and the changes going on within your career and also within your relationships, and maybe sharing that with them and letting them know what's been kind of happening. Worst case scenario, it looks like you've got like a great group of friends that you can kind of fall back on. So if you have been experiencing some difficult changes in relationships or career, you've got people who've got your back, right? The card that I get is the Three of Cups. I love this card for you because it's very 11th house energy. Parties, celebrations galore, get-togethers, having a good time, and being able to spend time with those who are going to be able to celebrate you. So graduations, parties, birthdays, right? Any kind of celebration, I recommend going because it looks like you're going to be among good company. Good luck, Leo. For Virgo and Virgo rising, you're going to be having a new moon in Gemini taking place in your natal 10th house. So if you happen to be a Virgo rising, let's say anywhere around 25 to maybe 28 degrees, you're going to be feeling a square with this particular new moon. It is a little bit more challenging for the mutable signs. However, a new moon in the 10th house is planting seeds revolving around your career. So new career options, meetings, your professional life, interviews, if you're wanting to change jobs, if you're wanting to go and try to get, a raise, or if you're trying to get a new position, perhaps you're going to start a new job search. Maybe you're going to be working 2 jobs because this is a double-bodied sign. Career and reputation is really what this is all about. Now, the challenge here is that there's so much energy at the top part of your chart, and it is in disharmony with Neptune and Saturn in your 7th. So there can be this feeling that you're like, okay, work is taking priority right now over my needs and also over relationship needs. So there can be this feeling of throwing yourself into work, right? Some of you guys are also deciding to go back to work or looking at changing positions. Jupiter and Uranus are in your 9th house. So some of you guys are completing programs, going through certifications, you're learning something new, so you can go back to work. So it might be something that you do over the next 6 months or so. Mercury is also your chart ruler. So the fact that Mercury is at the top part of the chart tells me that you're kind of in the mix here. You're busy when it comes to communicating and connecting to people. Maybe you're the one interviewing people. Maybe you're managing a group, or you're managing a business, or you're figuring out how to organize something professionally. Regardless, this is a really important time to set intentions in regards to your career. I do feel like there can be some mixed feelings, though, where you're realizing that it comes at a personal sacrifice or a sacrifice when it comes to your relationships. And this is your moment kind of in the spotlight, and it does take away a little bit from relationships. So some of you guys are feeling like it's all work and no play, and you don't have the time to kind of connect to somebody or spend time with your spouse, or because you're so work driven, you're lacking connecting with somebody on a romantic level. And if you have planets in the later degrees of Virgo, it's squaring, your sun, moon, or your rising there as well. So it'll change. You're going to see it shift a little bit. I think both Neptune and Saturn retrograde later this month is going to give you the opportunity to reevaluate what you need in regards to relationships. And the Venus retrograde this summer is going to be kind of wrapping up any karmic relationship things that need to be kind of sorted out so you can go more so better and deeper into relationships. Ooh, I got 2 cards. I got the Devil and the Page of Swords. The Devil is really what popped up though. Saturn. Right? So it's the Mercury square Saturn. So more challenging for you because you can feel like you have to give critical feedback, or you're getting critical feedback from bosses, from clients, from partners, feeling like you're stuck maybe in a situation or a routine. I do think that this can be talking about career though, because Capricorn is connected to the Devil. So it is about the 10th house and your responsibility and what that comes with, and where maybe we get stuck into patterns. So I'd really pay attention to some of these squares to Neptune, where you can be so consumed with what's going on work-wise that you sometimes don't see where you're missing a connection with other people, or maybe where you're feeling like other people aren't hearing you, or other people are telling you, like, you come home from work and you're not here, where are you, you know? So you can break out of some of those patterns. So you're going to possibly be getting feedback from other people. Good luck, Virgo. For Libra and Libra rising, you're going to be having a new moon taking place in the sign of Gemini in your natal 9th house. Now, this is a sister sign, so if you have any planets in Libra, especially like the last 10 degrees, it's going to be more harmonious. You'll experience a trine. Air trines are nice. It's all about kind of getting active. It's about moving around, sharing ideas. The 9th house is going to be very much associated with travel, writing, higher education, legal, or publishing, okay? This is also the house that's connected to your belief systems, to gurus, to like mentors. So a new moon here is helping you set intentions revolving around, what do I believe in? You know, what am I learning? Who is my guide? What is my philosophy about life? Where am I traveling to, right? Do you have a goal of being able to write something, publish something? Do you have a goal of being able to travel the world? Setting intentions revolving around this new moon is going to make it possible for you to do more of these things. You have support because it's trining your ascendant. So it says the more that you're kind of focusing on relationships with other people, Libra, these things become possible. Maybe you have to venture out, connect with people in different places. Now, the challenge here is that Mercury is involved in a square with Saturn, and the sun and the moon are involved in a square with Neptune. So it's something about what you're wanting to do is clashing with your actual daily routines and the time that you have or the job that you have. So there can be a sense of, I want to teach or I want to travel, but I've got these responsibilities and I've got these routines and I've got this day job, or I've, you know, got this responsibility of a pet that I have to take care of. And so things feel a little discombobulated there, needing to kind of make sense of these two energies. My advice is to get clear about what your responsibilities are and simplify your daily routines, and get really clear about getting things into systems or getting support or bringing people in to kind of help you, so it can make this dream possible of being able to go out into the world and do things without feeling the responsibility or the heaviness of this grind within the 6th house. I'm a Libra rising. I've definitely had this. It's really revolved more so around, you know, wanting to teach more and then having to alter my schedule so I can do that. Wanting to travel more, needing to find people to, you know, puppy sit and watch my 2 doggies, and the challenges revolving around scheduling my work life so I can take time off. So it's very, at least for me, it's been very literal. For other people, it can also be your philosophies changing, revolving around what it means to be of service, and also your health, okay? Let's take a look and let's see what the cards say for you, Libra. The card that I get is the Knight of Cups. So this is all about emotions. This can be about relationships. This can be about a water sign coming into your life. Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces. Interesting that the square is to Pisces, and you've got Saturn and Neptune there. I wonder for some of you guys, it's like, is it like emotional hangups that are keeping you from being able to kind of have like a more bright and open, optimistic perspective of where life can go, right? How sweet things can be. Gemini in the 9th house is interesting because it means that you might have 2 different belief systems, 2 different philosophies, and you kind of flip-flop. And I think that this can represent somebody coming in, helping you kind of make sense of where do you want to go. A counselor, a therapist, you know, a healer, somebody who can kind of like help you make sense of things. It can be talking about relationships being sweeter, relationships opening up. Certainly we do see some sextiles from this new moon to Venus in your 11th house, but it's more about friendships. It's less romantic. So if you are connecting with somebody, it's just somebody who's kind of maybe supporting you and listening to you, and like an ear, you know, that's just kind of hearing what you're kind of working through and trying to make sense of, better organizing your life and giving you support. Good luck, Libra. For Scorpio and Scorpio rising, you have a new moon taking place in Gemini in your natal 8th house. So Gemini is a sign that quincunxes you, Scorpio. So there is a little bit of like an agitating angle going on here. But the 8th house is a house that you are very familiar with. So a new moon taking place in the 8th house is very psychic. It's emotional. It's sensitive. It's about joint resources, intimacy, secrets, taxes, right? Other people's money, other people's resources. Insurance also comes under the guise of the 8th house. Now, this new moon is taking place in close proximity to Mercury, okay? Mercury rules your 8th house, and it can be about documents, paperwork, conversations about money, paying for things, paying things off. And Mercury also has connections to the 11th house of goals. So to me, it looks like this is a new moon where the goal is to communicate and go more deeply with someone else. You know, being able to expose parts of yourself and really share parts of your soul and talk about setting new intentions about merging and coming together. Obviously, a little agitating because it's going to be squaring planets that are in your 5th house. So Saturn is more about the responsibility for romance, children, creativity, and the money that you get from those things or what you have to put into it. Neptune, which is going to be more so about your vision, creativity, anything in regards to kind of expressing yourself and losing yourself in a creative experience. Personally, I think that this could be for some Scorpio risings, learning how to go deeper in relationships, learning how to communicate all the scary things and going deeper in intimacy and being able to work through some childhood issues, being able to work through some issues in terms of self-expression and going deeper in romance and also intimacy. For other Scorpios, it can be about challenges revolving around finding the right person and putting yourself out there and opening yourself up again. It can also be about really discovering and going deeper in regards to childhood related issues or how you feel in regards to children. Certainly Saturn square Mercury and Neptune square does make me feel like there's some challenges revolving around fear and exploring the possibility of having children and also exploring the possibility of, you know, how do we pay for this? How do we fund this? How are we dealing with the resources relating to this? What you do have working in your favor is that, you know, you have Jupiter and Uranus in your 7th house sextiling Saturn. So you have supporting people, supporting partners, relationships, you know, therapists, people who can kind of help you work through some of this stuff. Generally, they're going to be pretty positive. Maybe they want to move forward very quickly, but they're going to be able to kind of support you and help you work through some of this stuff. Keep in mind that this particular new moon, if you are a late degree Scorpio rising, you know, 25 to about 29 degrees is going to create an inconjunct, may possibly bring something up that's very uncomfortable that you need to work through. And I think with Pluto going retrograde also now back into your 3rd house, it is about communication. So it's about having all the difficult conversations and kind of airing out these skeletons in the closet so you can go deeper with another person. The card that I get is the 9 of Coins, which is a positive card, especially financially. So the other side of this new moon is that this can be about talking about, you know, saving money, bringing in more money, bringing in money from stocks, how you can be able to generate more income through somebody else. So the 9 of Coins is about feeling financially secure, stable, having everything you need, feeling abundant, and also being able to treat yourself. So you might be trying to come up with a plan for like long-term financial planning and setting everything up so you feel secure, but also, you know, treating yourself a little bit in the process and allowing yourself to have a little bit here too. Good luck, Scorpio. We've got Sag and Sag rising. You're going to have a new moon taking place in the sign of Gemini in your natal 7th house of relationships. Sag, this is your opposite sign, so it's a lot about other people, relating to other people. Gemini can be about neighbors, it can be about siblings, it can be friends. 7th house does deal more with romance, so maybe you're setting intentions with 2 different types of people, you know, reconnecting, calling your sister back, but also being able to kind of be on the hunt or the search for a new partner or ways to better connect with an existing relationship. If you're looking for someone new, right, a new moon in the 7th house is a great time to set intentions revolving around relationships, partners, marriage, but also this is your marketplace. This is what you sell. This is what people see that you kind of put out there. Mercury is also in that house as well. So there's definitely going to be lots of communication coming from other people. I do feel like the challenge with this particular moon is that we are seeing a whole bunch of squares taking place between Saturn and Neptune. So if you happen to be a Sag, Sun, Moon, or Rising, really anywhere, the first 10 degrees of Sag or the last 10 degrees of Sag, you're going to have an opposition to this moon and a square to Saturn. Challenges moving forward in existing relationships because of the inability to let go of the past. To put it very simply, right? Challenges revolving around relationships and also living situations because we're seeing that this energy is squaring Saturn in the 4th. So you living one place, somebody living somewhere else, can we come together? Will you move? Can you break your lease? How is this possible? But it can also be revolving around whether or not you're really ready for relationships, or if there is a need to really work through the past and let the past go, heal the past, work through family-related issues or emotional-related issues. For Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising, this can be particularly challenging because both Saturn and Neptune are going to be the focal point of this new moon. Perhaps really trying to get you or giving you feedback from counselors, therapists, or partners that there is something you need to work through, something you need to heal, right? And it might be about a family-related situation or relationship. The good news is that this does set you up to bring in new relationships and partnerships. It can play out over a period of time, so it might take about 6 months for this to happen. Be mindful that if there is some sensitivity, some moodiness, some retreating that's going on, it can create some issues in relationships, and people can be asking you, what's wrong? What's going on? What's the problem? What do you need? Why won't you talk to me, right? Because all of this energy is opposing you. Now, it could also play out with a relationship with an aunt, uncle, cousin, or sibling. So that's something else, is that there can be some challenges in connecting to some of these people, being able to better relate, and sometimes like a parent issue kind of coming up and getting in the way, or learning how to communicate with some of these other relatives about a family-related matter. The card that I get for you is the Nine of Pentacles. So this is all about you focusing on moving forward and feeling stable and feeling secure, giving yourself everything that you need. I do feel like this is about you realizing that everything that you need is already within you, and not feeling like you need to seek this in relationships or seeking this from people that you're living with. I do feel like this is also going to be about you realizing that just because you can do things by yourself doesn't mean you have to. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to receive support from other people. And it is possible for you to be able to be self-sufficient while being partnered with another person. Likely there are going to be people who are going to be showing up who care and that want to show you that they're giving you their support, right? Good luck, Sag. We've got Capricorn and Capricorn rising. You're going to have a new moon taking place in Gemini in your natal 6th house, in Gemini. So a new moon in your 6th house is all about health, schedule, habits, pets, your routine, office type things. It's kind of a grab bag. But Mercury is here. So definitely I could say this being about setting new intentions with health, your work schedule, or how you're taking better care of pets or animals. One of those things. New moon in the 6th is giving you the opportunity to also get organized, get healthy, get back to the gym, commit more so to a specific schedule. Interesting that Pluto's going back into your 1st house, and you're having this new moon that's going to quincunx Pluto. So I definitely think it's like health and body and habit related if you're wanting to kind of work on a particular habit. Yes, we are seeing some squares to Saturn and Neptune in the 3rd house. I think it's all about the mindset and how you look at making these changes and how you're communicating the changes that are coming. It'd be really wonderful to get into a routine where you're going for walks or for bike rides, changing up and creating some duality in how you're working, maybe working out in 2 different places or having 2 different fitness schedules. Maybe there's 2 different ways that you can work. Maybe you're experimenting with working from home and working from an office. There can be office changes that can come up here, and also like working with new healthcare providers and new practitioners. But I think a lot of this is about habits and also like your mental mindset. Some of you guys who are looking to kind of, calm the mind down and kind of better take care of the emotional body, something that can be helpful can be breath work as well during this particular new moon. But if you want to set intentions in regards to kind of getting better organized and having better health and better habits, this is definitely the moon that you want to do this with. I do feel like it can take 6 months for this to fully kind of unfold for you. Be mindful that there is a square to Neptune, so it's about having better mental health, not just physical habits, and how the physical habits provide the opportunity for you to have better mental health. Journaling, breath work, cycling, going for walks, all of these things can be really helpful. And it's mind over matter, not letting the mind get in the way of being able to break some of these habits. So if you're like trying to quit smoking, trying to quit drinking, if you're trying to stop watching as much television or spending less time on a screen, that Saturn Neptune in the 3rd house is basically saying replace it with something else, something that's going to be more spiritual or a little bit more emotionally stimulating, so that way you're feeling like you have better health and better habits, right? Let's see what the cards say for you. I get the 5 of Cups. So you know, Saturn is your chart ruler. Having Saturn going retrograde, Saturn's in a square with Mercury, does make me feel like there is a sense of realizing that something is missing, maybe feeling a little down or needing to kind of work through something, being disappointed. Saturn square Mercury does make me feel like you might be disappointed with certain results that you're getting and not getting the results that you want when it comes to your mental or your physical health. I do also think that the Five of Cups is like not staying in that situation, not allowing yourself to stay in something where you're feeling like bummed out or sad, like evolving and moving past something. So letting go of grief, forgiving yourself, getting help, getting assistance, and healing so you can move on from that place and not feeling like you need to stay there. And I think a lot of this is just about getting moving, right? Gemini wants movement, but what can you be moving and doing and listening to at the same time, right? Can you be listening to a mindfulness podcast? Can you be listening to mantras? Can you be doing breath work while, you know, you're on a bicycle? Something that's going to be allowing you to kind of tap into the mental as well as the spiritual and have that physical release at the same time. Hopefully that's helpful for you, Capricorn. Good luck. For Aquarius and Aquarius rising, we're going to be having a new moon taking place in Gemini, in a fellow sister sign. So if you happen to have an Aquarius sun, moon, or rising, especially around the last 10 degrees of the sign, you'll be experiencing trines, which is going to be harmonious. Fifth house new moon is amazing for creativity. It's great for romance, children, dating, and self-expression. Mercury being there as well does make me feel like there's lots of activity revolving around communicating and sharing fifth house things, sharing your creative projects, sharing your talent with the world, writing, speaking maybe, but also it can be sharing what you've created on social media, putting it on a website. Lots of talk about romance, lots of action in regards to going on dates, talking to people, getting out there, meeting them, or, you know, kind of rekindling the romance in pre-existing relationships. A new moon is setting the stage also for very fertile energy. So talks revolving around pregnancy, children, having children, spending time with children, growth in regards to children is going to be a huge theme over the next 6 months or so. The challenge here is that we are going to see a number of squares to both Saturn and Neptune, which will be in your second house. So it's basically saying the financial obligations and responsibilities, what you have to sacrifice, what you're kind of cutting back, so that way you can have more of that. So it is financial responsibility for kids, but it can also be minding your finances and being mindful of what you're spending when it comes to having fun. Learning that you don't have to spend a lot of money to have a good time. You don't need to have a flashy gift or date in order to, you know, get somebody to love you. That you don't need to spend a lot of money when it comes to like a hobby. Perhaps maybe there's also some confusion revolving around how you want to make money and better developing your talents. All I know is that a new moon in the fifth house, especially in a trine to the ascendant, is basically saying get to the heart of the situation. Focus on what you love. What are you most passionate about? What do you want to create? Don't make it be about the money. Don't make it be about what you actually possess. Make it be about the ideas of creating. Switch it up a little bit. Differentiate your hobbies and the things that you're doing for fun. Try out a hobby that's going to be more mercurial, like writing or speaking or sharing, or maybe putting something on the internet, blogging even, maybe creating a YouTube channel. There might be something there that you decide that you want to initiate and you're not sure how it's going to make money yet or like what's going to play out. Don't let that be the motive. Focus more on the art of creativity and let the rest kind of flow. And you'll see over the next 2 weeks, but more importantly 6 months, it can evolve into you realizing like, oh, I started doing this thing and now I really love it and I'm really good at it. I met this person, we went on a date, and now we're in a full-blown relationship. And you'll see a lot of this mature around the full moon that's going to be in Gemini later this year at the end of 2023. Obviously, lots of energy also with Venus and Mars in your 7th house. It's a lot about relationships. Venus will go retrograde there. So some of you guys are getting back out there and you're getting ready to meet people, and it's going to be like the summer of love. Card that I get is the Queen of Swords, which I love because you're an Aquarius. So this is about kind of putting your thoughts out there, telling people what's up, communicating, expressing. Mercury's involved, so I really love that. Queen of Swords is an air sign woman, so it can be an Aquarius, but it can also be a Gemini or a Libra. So if these people show up to kind of help you with this new moon, don't be surprised. This is about writing, speaking, communicating, sharing your information, sharing your ideas, telling people what's on your mind and owning it. So some talents that are coming through in terms of how you communicate and what you have to say are likely going to emerge from this new moon in Gemini. Good luck. And we've got Pisces and Pisces rising. You'll be experiencing a new moon in Gemini in your natal 4th house, which is all about your home, family, roots, real estate, and new places to live. Perhaps one of the relationships with your parents can also kind of come into focus with this particular new moon as well. Interesting, because new moon's a great time if you want to move, if you want to rearrange furniture, if you're looking to buy a home, if you're looking to start something new within the home. This is a good time to do it. Little dicey though, right? Because you do have a number of squares to planets in your sign. Saturn and Neptune are going to go retrograde by the end of this month. So there's a lot of reevaluating. Am I not doing enough, or am I doing too much? Am I being too rigid? Do I open up more? Interesting. So I think that really this is a lot of like how you're relating to your family, how you're relating to your home base, how you're relating to your emotions. And this can be more challenging for you, Pisces, because of the squares. Now, Gemini can be siblings. It can also be neighbors. And then the 4th house can be your physical home and people that you live with. So something you may notice with this particular new moon is that while you're setting intentions revolving around where you want to live, how you want to feel, what you want your home to look like, who you want to live with, all that stuff, it's coming into some disharmony, you know, with your vision, with what you need. And there can be some rigidness with the squares to Saturn. There can be some confusion with the squares to Neptune. Likely what I think you're going to find is that it's going to be hard to kind of find the peace when it comes to your home base. Maybe you're kind of going back and forth, changing your mind a lot about where you want to live, what you want your home to look like. Keep in mind, like I said, part of the squares to Saturn is taking your time, visualizing. And then the squares to Neptune is, you know, how can I dream big when it comes to where it is that I want to go? Some situations where you find that you're not totally thrilled with where you're living can come from your lack of involvement or your lack of participation or visualization of creating the home base that it is that you want. It does help if you have 2 places to go back and forth from. So if you're not thrilled with one situation, some of you guys might say, well, I'll stay here for 6 months and then I'll, you know, look for something else, or I'm only going to go and extend my lease, you know, month to month, and I'm looking for something new. So there is some kind of opportunity to stay open. I do think some of this can be based off of either, you know, who you're living with or what you're living with. And you'll see later at the end of summer, in August and September, when we have some retrograde action in your 7th house, that it also might be based off of like other people and where they are living and whether or not you want to move to be closer with them, or if people are going to be, you know, kind of moving in or out of your space. I know this sounds a little bit more challenging for you, Pisces, but this should not surprise you, especially after the Mars retrograde that we had the end of 2022 into the beginning of this year. We saw similar squares taking place. And so there was a sense of being like, do I do this or do I do that? So if you found your space, you're comfortable, you like it, the new moon's a great time to kind of visualize how you can make changes, what you want it to look like, how you want it to feel. And if you're still looking for the right spot, this is the time to do it. But it's really up to you to sit down and go to the visualization drawing board, literally draw out, you know, the home that you want to have, all the ways that it feels and all the unique things that might be on the property. And hold on to that particular drawing or to that list so you can kind of check in with it regularly to better kind of help you get to where it is that you want to go when it comes to creating the home base that it is that you truly want. And it's your vision, right? It's all going to be about your vision, but your vision's a little clouded with the squares to Saturn and Neptune. And so maybe there's a sense of like doubting, like, oh, do I really want to live there? Or it looked, you know, it looked great, and then I moved there and I realized it's not quite a fit. Or just feeling like you need some space from certain relatives or certain family members that you've been living close to, and realizing that something needs to kind of give. You know, Jupiter and Uranus are in your 3rd, so it is possible with some of the sextiles to your 1st house that moving is still possible, even if it's not something that's coming until closer to the fall. The card that I get for you is the 9 of Swords, which does not surprise me because this can be about sleep disturbances and stress and having concerns and worry about changes and things that are going on that feel like they are out of your control. Yeah, you know, it's really easy to go into the fear spiral with some of the squares to Neptune of what's going to happen, what's going to work out, what am I going to do? But the truth is that the next card would be the 10 of Swords, which means something's coming to an ending. Maybe you realize you can't stay where you're living forever. Maybe you know it's temporary. Not stressing about something that's inevitable is the key, but there can be loss of sleep and issues, and also like disturbances. Do you have noisy neighbors? You know, do you have roommates that are keeping you up? Or are you feeling like you're concerned about not knowing what the next step is? a lot of this is about letting go and letting God and really focusing on visualizing what the next step is rather than what you don't have control over. When you do that, that's when you're going to start to see things kind of open up and realize that, hey, maybe moving to another place, maybe changing apartments, maybe having a roommate, maybe going back home isn't the end of the world, right? Good luck, Pisces. Hopefully that's helpful for you guys. I hope it's a good week ahead. I hope it's a good new moon. I'm going to encourage you guys to be really focusing on envisioning and going through the step-by-step process to quite literally manifest the life that you want. Try to create some order in the midst of the chaos and don't disconnect, right? Get out, communicate, talk to people. Let me know how you guys are feeling with this energy. I'd love to hear from you. Leave me your comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'll be back next week with some more videos on Tuesday and Thursday. We'll be breaking down some of this week's aspects as we go. And I hope you guys enjoy the new moon, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. I'll see all of you very soon. Take care.